But first, a Fox News alert, and NATO now has control over all the air operations in Libya. But lawmakers here in the U.S., on both sides of the aisle actually, still divided on our involvement so far. The Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates, testifying right now at a House hearing, talking about just that. Listen.
And I think it is fair to say that there has been disagreement between the Congress and the President ever since then on what is required of him under the War Powers Act. President Obama is the 8th president I've worked for. 7 operated under the War Powers Act, and I would say that his compliance in terms of consultation and notification of the Congress has been consistent with the actions taken by all of his predecessors, both Republicans and Democrats, since the War Powers Act was passed.
Ron Bonjean is a former communications director to former Speaker of the House Dennis Hastert. Nina Easton is a Washington columnist for Fortune magazine and a Fox News contributor. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Nina, let me start with you. We're hearing from a lot of lawmakers who apparently feel very left out of this process, saying that it's just astonishing what the White House has done, that the administration seems more concerned with the wishes and desires of the Arab League than they do members of the House and Senate. And the White House, though, doesn't seem to care one bit about this, do they?
Well, I think they care. I mean, I think they do stand guilty of spending too much focus and time consulting with the UN rather than consulting with Congress. And by going through the UN, we had to make this was clear. It has to be a humanitarian effort. This is not about regime change, despite the fact that the president said that Gaddafi must go just a few weeks ago. But all of that said, I think it's really important for members of Congress to remember that if you're going to protect the population of Libya or protect the United States, Gaddafi still has to go. I mean, this is a guy who is a state-sponsored terrorist who has made threats against the U.S., and particularly now we're in the crosshairs of this guy. And I do think that you've got to see this thing to the end. And I know lawmakers feel frustrated, rightly, that they weren't consulted enough. I think they need to keep their eye on the ball here.
Ron, not only did the president not go to Congress for approval before he acted, he doesn't seem to have any plans to go to them in the future either, at least according to what we're hearing from some administration sources. And now we're getting word of this directive that the president signed, putting CIA operatives on the ground to let them deal directly with the rebels. Is the president overstepping his authority?
Yeah, who thought that was a good idea to leak that on the same day that Hillary Clinton and Defense Secretary Bill Gates were meeting with the Hill intelligence officials? That wasn't a pretty smart move, in fact, because they didn't know about it. I think that the president will care once he starts seeking funding from Congress. This is going to cost a lot more than the $50 billion or $1 million a day that we're hearing. And I think it would be a wise idea if he started treating the Congress like a co-equal branch and not a subsidiary. You know, members of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, are pretty upset about this. And going forward, it would be a smart idea if they start really working with them. And I do think they should pass a war powers resolution or some type of congressional war resolution going forward. We understand that they had to do, some people understand about the speed, and they've had that excuse. But going forward, they really need to define it with Congress. That way, Obama will have the cover, and Congress can say, you know, we voted yes or we voted no, but they have to give him a say at some point.
And by the way, I would add to that there's the opportunity for the president to have bipartisan cover in Congress. I mean, you've got, Senator McCain felt like there should be action there. Senator
Graham is very much in favor of what's going on in Libya.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an opportunity, particularly in the Senate, for him to reach across the aisle and get agreement. But you're right, Ron, I think he does have to make more of an effort to get Congress on his side.
Ron, real quickly, I've got about 15 seconds. Is this potentially a political problem for the president?
This is a huge political problem for the president because this is an unending mission. He needs to fund it, and he needs Congress to do it. And going forward, he's going to have to treat him like a co-equal branch.
Ron Bonjean, Nina Easton, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as we approach the 10-year mark now since September 11th, construction is moving forward on a memorial that would honor the victims of Flight 93 who fought back against the terrorists. But the victims' families are now saying that they need more money for the Pennsylvania Memorial and are asking Congress to give it to them. Laura Engel is live in our New York City newsroom on this story. Laura, what do the family members hope that they'll achieve?